Millennials are America's largest, most educated generation in American history. A generation of ambition, education, and progress facing an uncertain reality. Born into an era of economic chaos, they face challenges far beyond what they were told to prepare for. They've had to rethink traditional milestones as they enter adulthood during global uncertainty. Their struggles mirror those of a generation before them, Japan's lost generation. The same story, different country, different time. America's lost generation goes beyond the numbers to capture the unique ways this generation is reshaping their future, in their own words. It's a story of real people, authentic challenges, and untold resilience. Explore the stories and reflections of America's lost generation by Cameron Cohen. Available now at soupllc.com.
Today on the Cameron Journal podcast, we are joined by Shirish Nimgaonkar. I'm sure that's an awful way of pronouncing that. Today we're going to talk with him about E-Bliss AI, his new company, product, all this sort of thing.
Hey, Cameron, great to be here. So I am Shirish Nimgaonkar, the CEO and founder of E-Bliss AI. I've been in the technology space for over 25 years now. Started out in Silicon Valley with Intel in a range of product management and operations roles. Then I've been a part of multiple venture capital and private equity-backed companies in senior management roles. I was also an investment banker for many years, where I started and grew the South Asia and the technology transactions groups for my bank. And the common theme across all my experiences has been a focus on entrepreneurship. Almost all the roles that I have done, ranging from sales and product management to business development, and in fact, start thinking about product visions and actually growing businesses, have been with highly entrepreneurial companies. And that has helped me to think about new markets, thinking about best ways to actually recruit and grow teams that are high performing, and really focus on understanding what different kinds of customers are looking for, and then come up with solutions that provide a highly differentiated value proposition to the end customer. And all this has been sort of helped by my education background as well. So I studied engineering at Stanford, then I went to business school at Harvard, and so I'm still plugged into all these different communities on both the coasts, and that has also helped me to leverage my relationships and also tap into the different talent pools from an employee, from an advisor standpoint, and also help in terms of figuring out the different kinds of customers and being able to deliver value to them.
All right. Well, okay, that's a lot. You've been a lot of places, done a lot of things, seen a lot of people. That's all very exciting. Why don't we start from the beginning? Where did you get the idea to start E-Bliss AI? Let's get into that story.
Sure. So, I've been exposed to the current market for the last several years. I was running a software company as president. And in the course of those experiences, I had a chance to talk to several large Fortune 2000 companies and really understand what their pain points are across the different technology stack. And a couple of things emerged, especially over the last couple of years. There's been an explosion in the number of endpoints or computing devices. So we have so many different kinds of computing devices that we see all around us, ranging from cell phones, laptops, tablets, to if you were to go into a manufacturing environment, then you have different kinds of robots. Or within the retail environment, you might have point-of-sale terminals or vending machines, or any industry that you go, you have different kinds of endpoints. So that's number one. Number two, there's a lot more varieties of these devices as well that we have just talked about. Number three, a lot more distributed geographies. So they're spread out all across the world, right? Number four, more importantly, you continue to see a lot of different kinds of issues in these computing devices. Issues like my Outlook is not starting, or my Teams is crashing, or you're not able to maybe connect in the right way for a particular kind of device, and so on. And the interesting point about these issues is that they keep on what we call as mutating or changing constantly because of new contributing factors within the environment, right? And number 5, there is the emergence and growth of AI, as we have seen, especially over the last couple of years. So a combination of all that has led to the need for effective endpoint management or device management focused on all these different kinds of devices. But at the same time, there are a couple of other things which are happening, which is the device management model is still very, very old school. It's rule-based, essentially. So, for instance, if you say your Outlook is not starting, that is not actually a problem. That is the symptom of a problem. It's similar to you having fever, right? Fever is not a problem. Fever is the symptom of a problem. And what it needs is for someone like a doctor to really diagnose what might be the root cause of the problem, which the current systems are incapable of for the most part. Right? So a lot of the systems actually focus on monitoring the problems and not really understanding the root cause of the problems. And if you don't understand the root cause, you are not positioned in the right way to actually come up with effective solutions to solve the problems. Right? So essentially, the current model is slow because there is a lot of human intervention that goes in terms of understanding the problems and actually being able to solve it in the right way. It is very reactive, because you're waiting for the problem to occur and then actually attempting to fix it. And it is impersonal. So you're using the same kind of solution for different kinds of end users. And for the most part, it is generic, and it doesn't really address the root cause of the problems. Right? So what you effectively need is some kind of a platform which can automatically figure out, in addition to the symptom, what is actually the root cause. And then once you understand the root cause, then you come up with the right kind of solutions to actually address the root cause. And all this needs to be done in an automated way, which is highly scalable, which is effective as well. That coupled with a couple of other things which are going on in the industry, as we talked about, there's been an emergence of AI. So now you have a lot of CEOs and CEOs who are responsible for the business outcomes, but increasingly CIOs and CTOs are actually being paid a lot of money. They have climbed up to be among the top 3 highest paid executives in large companies, and that's because they're responsible for the business outcomes in addition to the CEOs. And the CIOs and CTOs are responsible for taking all the data that they have within the companies and actually showcasing tangible business value in a defined period of time. So if you combine all these different things that we've talked about, which is the emergence of a vast number of endpoints or computing devices, number 1. Number 2, the lack of current systems to actually understand what is the problem. And number 3, emergence of AI and the need to deliver tangible ROI in a short period of time. That actually led me to the idea around the creation of E-Bliss AI. What E-Bliss really does is it automates the process of detection, diagnosis, resolution, and prediction of different kinds of issues in a variety of computing devices. And the end outcome is essentially tangible return on investment in a very short period of time, because what the platform really does is it cuts down on the need for extensive human intervention, and it increases the productivity of the end users. And all that is done in a highly adaptive, scalable, effective, real-time, and secure manner.
Well, that's all very interesting. I'll admit this interview is a little bit above my head, but that's okay. I think I want to kind of hone in on the AI angle, because it seems like we live in a day and time where everyone is shoehorning AI into everything. And we've had a parade of AI people on the show as the years have gone by. what is the specific thing that AI can do that maybe wouldn't have been possible without it, or it makes your platform more capable than it ordinarily would have been?
Great question, Cameron. So essentially, if you look at the nature of issues in a lot of these computing devices, the issues keep on changing. Right? For instance, your Outlook not starting might seem like a very simplistic high-level issue, but as we discussed, it is actually the symptom of an issue. The root cause, which is the real reasons why Outlook are not starting, there could be 10 to 15 of those, right? And those reasons keep on changing as the environment keeps on changing because of different contributing factors. Now, if you have humans actually create the solutions, those will be considered as static solutions, which is they are geared towards a specific type of problem at a specific point on time. But if the issue keeps on changing, then you need intelligence that can make the solutions adaptive. So you have to constantly monitor what is causing the solution, the issues to change, and then come up with real-time solutions for that. And that is precisely where AI can actually help. So the way the AI works, it gathers a lot of data from different kinds of sources, and we use 5 or 6 different kinds of sources. Then we have our different extensive AI models, and that feeds into the knowledge base, which is essentially a combination of detection, diagnosis, resolution, and prediction of different kinds of issues. And remember, the knowledge base actually has solutions that keep on changing over a period of time based on the changing nature of the problems or the issues. And that is precisely where AI is very, very effective. AI what is really helpful in terms of situations and environments where there is dynamic nature, there's a constant change in the kinds of issues that we're seeing, and then coming up with real-time solutions and actually testing and verifying the solutions so as to deliver tangible value.
Okay. Now let's kind of ask the reverse of that question. How would these problems be solved if AI didn't exist?
Again, great question. So the way these problems have been solved for many years, right? Let's say, again, going back to the example of Outlook not starting, let's say, your Outlook didn't start or it was crashing. What would you do at that time? You would, simply attempt to download some kind of a patch, or you would restart your device, or you might call IT or help desk. And if in each of these cases, you're incurring cost and you're incurring an unscheduled downtime, and that leads to loss of productivity as well. So the IT and help desk guys, they're great, but they come over, they take over your device, and then they run some kind of diagnostics. And they would propose solutions which are largely heuristic solutions. By that, I mean, they're approximate solutions. They don't really understand what is the root cause of the problem. And so because you're running an approximate solution, you're not effectively solving the problem. You think you are solving by addressing the symptom of the issues, but we have seen in close to 70% of the cases, the solution actually reemerges, the problem actually reemerges. Right? So that is the current state of the solution. Now, what E-Bliss does in contrast is, as and when the problem occurs, we have different kinds of AI models that kick in. We have our own agentic AI chat that engages in a process of better understanding the specific nature of the problem, not just the symptom, but actually the root cause of the problem. And then we have been given, this is sort of the AI framework we have, they actually instantly come up with the right kind of solutions, and then they test whether the solutions have worked in real time or not. So there's a process of intelligent reasoning. There is the recommendation, which is the action and the execution, and there is the verification of the solution. And that's what leads to intelligent, instant solutions that can effectively address the problems in real time compared to the existing status quo that we talked about. And so again, comparing, the status quo is slow, reactive, and delayed, and ineffective. And the new state, because of E-Bliss, is adaptive, intelligent, real-time, effective, and secure.
Well, and I would also imagine, after so many help desk tickets, it takes a while to figure out, these certain issues are having this problem, or when we do X, Y happens. If it's just people doing that, I imagine figuring out this is a common problem or this is a common issue or whatever have you takes a long time, because you've got to wait for a lot of people to have a problem to say, okay, we have a problem, maybe we'll go find a solution. And then people spend, a lot of time trying to find the aforementioned solution. Then eventually it's finally rolled out. Months have passed on by, all this type of thing. And you've had people fighting with the equipment, off and on all the time, filing help desk tickets for the same issue that they're trying to solve the problem with for months and months and months, all this type of thing. This whole process can take 6-8 months, even longer sort of thing. I would imagine the AI speeds that whole process up because it's looking for the real root of the problem rather than just solving the user's present issue.
That is absolutely the case, Cameron. And in fact, you can think about it not just in the context of an enterprise, because the example that you pointed out is brilliant, because you need certain volume of issues to have intelligence within the human community, let's say, about what is causing those issues. But what E-Bliss does is it looks at these issues across a variety of customers. Right? So we have the benefit of looking at patterns across millions and millions of endpoints. And that's what we bring to the table when we are trying to address the issues within the context of an organization as well. So to your point, these kind of solutions are highly scalable, and they are, in addition to being fast, preemptive, predictive, and effective as well.
No, certainly. Now this is kind of an interesting sort of idea. Of all the businesses you could have started and all the things you could have gotten into, what made solving this issue particularly interesting for you?
Well, it's just the sheer magnitude of the problem that we are seeing in the current context, right? As we have said, we will continue to see a world where there is rampant explosion of the number of endpoints. So the number of devices is only going to increase over a period of time, over the next several years. The varieties of computing devices, at this point of time, you're surrounded by such devices pretty much everywhere, whether in the context of enterprises or within your home environment as well, whether it is microwaves, dishwashers, vending machines, right? Pretty much every device that you see is essentially a smart device right now. Right? And so it's the sheer magnitude of the problem itself. What we have seen is, given the broken endpoint model, the cost that is incurred because of unscheduled downtime plus the productivity loss is upwards of $400 billion per year. So that is a huge amount of waste because of unscheduled downtime that needs immediate and effective attention. And hence, we think about E-Bliss as an autonomous endpoint management platform. And the autonomy has 3 legs to it. It has the self-healing aspect, where the platform actually learns over a period of time. It has the ability to sort of automate and solve the issues as well, and also predict when the issues are going to happen in the future. And then, more importantly, also personalize the solutions based on the specific personas of the end users. So you're not just using one generic solution for everybody. You're trying to figure out what are the specific personas of each of the different end users, what are the user patterns, the usage patterns, and then come up with solutions that might specifically target every specific end user. And those are the 3 legs of autonomous solutions that we are aiming to propagate. And I believe that there's going to be a rampant growth in these autonomous solutions over the next several years as we get access to different kinds of data and the systems become much more intelligent.
That's a bit of a frightening prospect, I think. And I'm sure would be more than one. There's a lot. Well, let me start from the beginning. There's a lot of people who will hear this and look at this and be kind of like, oh, great, sounds awesome and amazing. We'll save a fortune. I notice in these conversations, we very rarely talk about downsides and dangers. Let's walk through that. What are the downsides and dangers of having these sorts of autonomous systems going in organizations and with devices and all this sort of thing? What happens when something goes wrong?
Great question. So the downside or the implications can be thought about along two categories. Right? One is, what does it mean for humans if the systems can do a lot of the work for them? And we believe that such kind of autonomous platforms are not propagated to replace the humans. In fact, they exist to actually complement and collaborate with the humans so that a combination of humans and machines can lead to a much more improved world, essentially. So in most cases, these autonomous platforms will take over a lot of the mundane work, the low-hanging fruit as such. And so humans can focus more on creativity, on relationship building, and more meaningful work that gives them true joy, satisfaction, and purpose. Right? That's with respect to the humans. And eventually, and hence the name that we have, which is E-Bliss, where we exist to provide a blissful experience to the end users that we serve. With respect to the other question around risks, essentially, so there are always unintended consequences of what we call as rogue AI platforms. And we do have a lot of checks and balances that we try to put in place. One, of course, we work very collaboratively with our customers in terms of putting the right kind of guardrails and the approval processes in place. And if we want to trigger some automations, we try to get either blanket approvals or prior approvals, or in the context of specific issues, we try to get approvals from the end user as well. That's number one. Number two, in case something goes wrong, we do have a clear audit log in place, so the change can be rolled back as well. And so there is an ability to actually correct if something goes wrong. And then, of course, there are several guardrails we put in terms of how we train our AI models as well. And number three, we have constant human supervision for how we come up with the solutions as well. While AI has the ability to instantly understand the data, understand the diagnosis of the issues, and then come up with solutions, we do have human supervision as well in terms of the quality of solutions and the effectiveness of the solutions. So a combination of all this lends itself to better managing the risk within the environment. And of course, the key point to remember is that there are essentially two axes. There's a productivity and happiness axis, and there's a risk axis. So we are essentially looking at the ratio of productivity to risk and making sure that we manage the risk effectively so that the ratio continues to increase over a period of time.
Well, you seem to have done the sums and maths on all of this, haven't you? Like you've got it all figured out in a very nice, neat package. That's quite impressive. Have you? I don't know if you've run into this, but when we start talking about this sort of, well, let me start from the beginning. In January, I said, like, this year was the year for AI to make good. If AI is going to survive as a thing, it's got to start solving real business problems. And in my June kind of halftime report, I said, well, it appears that it is doing so, and here we are, and now this is marching forward sort of thing. And so have you had any hesitancy at all from customers or people you've talked to or sales calls about implementing AI in something like this that's so important?
Again, a very good question, Cameron. So let me share some interesting statistics. Quite a bit of that was covered by McKinsey and the Wall Street Journal as well. And it goes back to my previous point about the rising relevance of CIOs and CTOs in large enterprises. And one of the biggest reasons why their pay structures have increased, why the relevance has increased, is because of the tremendous growth of AI and the potential of AI to actually solve a lot of the business problems. Interesting statistic is that greater than 80% of the companies have deployed AI across one or more functions within their companies. And this is true, especially with respect to the larger enterprises. But less than 1% of those large enterprises have seen true meaningful ROI across the enterprise with respect to the AI deployment. That means there is still a big gap in terms of the effort and cost that is going into these AI deployments and the real tangible benefit that you are able to see enterprise-wide in many of these companies. And there are a couple of reasons as to why that gap really exists, right? One is, of course, there is a dearth of the right kind of AI talent in terms of enabling the right kind of business transformation, of course. Number two, it has to do really more with people and governance structures as well. So across all the different customers that we've seen, where we have witnessed true meaningful transformation, there is a strong leadership in place. There's a vision of the end state. There's a right kind of governance model. And then you sort of align the different kinds of people along the governance model, defining the right kind of objectives while tracking progress. So it really becomes more of an execution model. And we believe platforms like E-Bliss actually will help execution and implementation of the various AI objectives so that you can gain meaningful ROI in a defined period of time, because that is the most important priority for a lot of the larger enterprises. So is there hesitation? Yes, there is. But then the hesitation is more with respect to how we can accomplish the ROI, not with respect to whether we should actually embark on the strategy or not. There is a lot of buy-in to the fact that AI is going to be game-changing. And if you don't latch on to the bandwagon, you will be left behind because someone else is going to do it and you will not be able to do it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that always kind of makes me a bit uncomfortable with all of this is how much of this is actually useful and how much of it is people just jumping on the bandwagon because it's become the new thing. You know, you're not doing it if you're not doing AI at this point. And like is that even a concern at all? That it's happening, everyone's doing it, therefore we're doing it, even though it may not be quite as helpful as advertised?
So there are two objectives here, Cameron. One is, are we doing it and are we experimenting with it in the right way? And number two, are we accomplishing the objectives or the outcomes that the AI is supposed to deliver, right? A lot of companies are trying to do one, which is experimenting with AI. I think where we are helping the companies really is more with respect to two, which is how can you achieve quantifiable outcomes with respect to value creation, which is decrease in cost, increase in productivity, enhancement of the user experience in a defined period of time, right? And those are metrics that you can clearly measure in terms of return on investment and transformation within the enterprise. And the way we do that is we embark on very detailed roadmaps with the enterprises that we partner with. And we start by saying, what is your current state? How do we quantify the pain in the current state? What should the future state look like? And what is the path to go from current state to the future state? And the future state has to lead to a tangible benefit in terms of cost, productivity, and experience.
No, I think that's excellent metrics to track in a very, very tangible way. Do you think that's a primary concern of your clients and customers, or are they trying to just kind of get in on the AI ship before it sails?
Well, as we have discussed, there is clearly the board level pressure, the market pressure as well in terms of AI adoption and AI experimentation. But I think we are sort of moving past that phase where the adoption is only because of market pressures, right? We are sort of transitioning into a phase where AI has to deliver real tangible business outcomes. And I think that is where there is tremendous pressure from the board level, right? Where AI is no longer just a tool, for you to play around with. It has to deliver real tangible business value. And we've seen that the enterprises that are more successful in terms of seeing the ROI across the enterprise tend to be those that have a clear vision in place, a clear roadmap, along with a governance structure and the right kind of metrics that they can measure their performance against. And that is where we are helping the companies a lot, essentially, by automating some of the or quite a bit of the low-hanging fruit, providing an intelligent base and helping them to measure and progress along tangible outcomes.
Yeah. So no, I think I'm so glad the way you started was so prescient in terms of people are kind of where's the where's the tangible outcome, where's the beef sort of thing. But how is this actually helping something and delivering some value? And I would agree with you. I think we are moving away from this is the new thing and everybody's doing it to okay, but what does it actually do? Sort of thing. How, and I've kind of never thought about this till right now. Potentially in an organization, you could have multiple different AI systems doing different things. How do those work together? Does AI know how to talk to other AIs doing other things, or does it all become a bit of a train wreck?
Right. So again, very good question. So what we're seeing as you might see in the early stages of adoption of any kind of technology is there's a scramble to sort of figure out how to adopt the technology in small sections of the company, whether it is marketing or whether it's product development or whether it is human resources or in this case, endpoint management and so on, right? So right now the industry is still at a level where you're seeing deployment of AI in limited scope across all these different functions within a business. And then the onus of sort of aggregating all that still lies with the larger enterprises, and hence the need for the right kind of governance structure, as we talked about, the vision of the end state, and then what kind of metrics you track and so on and so forth. What we are beginning to see is cross-pollination and overlap across the AI capabilities across all these different functions, right? So now you have all these AI agents that are coming up that have the ability to engage in the process of reasoning, implementation, and actually also helping to accomplish certain end objectives. And then you're going to have agent farms or swarm of agents, which actually you have agents from all these different functions that are going to talk to each other, right? And the objective is to see how you can enable better collaboration across all the different groups or business units, let's say, within a particular enterprise, right? Right now, currently, that's being done by humans for the most part. But the hope is that AI will be able to help in terms of engaging in better cross-functional collaboration within the realm of enterprises. And I see that trend only accelerating over a period of time.
The way you talk, humans are going to be obsolete in no time. We're all going to be, out on our ears. We're going to be unnecessary with the agents talking to each other, collaborating, doing all the work. It sounds like humans are going to become quite scarce in a lot of places.
Well, I don't think so. In fact, I do believe that any kind of a meaningful end objective will be a consequence of the right kind of collaboration between machines and humans, essentially AI and humans in that particular case. And we have to recognize that humans are still far superlative in terms of their creative capabilities, their relationship building capabilities, which is a consequence of empathy, which AI, doesn't really have at this point. Right? And so you are going to see a world where a lot of the low-hanging mundane work will increasingly be done by these bots or AI-enabled platforms, essentially. But that actually might be good for humans to really focus on work that is more fulfilling, satisfying and more meaningful, which builds on their aspects of creativity. It sort of leverages their empathy and their ability to build the right kind of relationships. So eventually you lead to a world which is which has lower cost, more productivity, but it has a much more fulfilling experience for the humans.
Yeah, I think this is an area where, especially given with like the stuff that you're doing, what place humans have in organizations, I think is going to be very interesting. The nature of work that people do, I think, is going to change dramatically. But I still think, given that companies are built to make money and really focus on profits, I feel like we're going to lose a lot of low-end junior level people, which will cause a talent problem down the road. And for two, I think you're just going to end up with a lot fewer humans around. I think, with all these new tools and everything, the accountants and the MBAs will take one look at the head count and say, we can comfortably chop that in half and give progressively ever more away to the AI. So then you have, 3 harried people running a department that used to be 200 with, a bunch of AI agents and all this sort of thing. I think that's probably a more likely outcome than not. And I kind of worry what that means for everyone.
Right. So if you look at what has happened over the last decade or so with respect to the employment in the US, right? So we are at a time where historically the unemployment rate is probably at its lowest point. That's number one. Number two, there has been a lot of churn, which means old jobs are lost and new jobs are taken. So what that means, a combination of 1 and 2, is actually a lot of the people are moving away from old jobs into newer jobs. And while at the same time, AI has grown significantly over the last couple of years. So essentially, what AI has done, it has replaced existing jobs with new jobs. And that requires a reskilling of people to focus on the new kinds of jobs that will actually be created. And I do believe that there's going to be a whole set of new jobs that will be created because of AI coming over. So in fact, let's say, you might not need an actuary or an accountant who just does a lot of the mundane data gathering stuff, because a lot of that could actually be done by AI. You may not need a human to actually take the data and put it into forms, but you might still need a lot more humans, given that they now have free time to actually engage in a in a process of better problem solving, higher problem solving, and relationship management. So because of the time that AI has saved for humans, they will have a lot more flexibility and opportunity to engage in new kinds of roles and new kinds of areas that were not earlier possible. And I do see that as a realistic possibility and outcome because of what we are seeing because of AI right now.
Oh, no, absolutely. That's that's tremendous. That's tremendous. Well, this has been fascinating. It's been interesting to kind of see what AI is doing inside of bigger companies and how it's really solving actual business problems, which I said in my Future Trends report it had to do, and you are living proof it is happening. So that's really exciting. We've come to the part of the show where we do plugs. So why don't you let us know how we can keep in touch with you and where we can find you online?
Well, you can certainly learn more about us at our website, eblissai.com. And it has our contact information there. It has different aspects of the solutions, the kinds of industries we serve as well. So if you would like any more clarification or a better understanding of the solution, please feel free to reach out to us.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the Cameron Journal podcast.
Thanks so much, Cameron, for having me.
That's all for this episode of the Cameron Journal podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Visit us online at CameronJournal.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I love to talk to my followers and listeners, so please feel free to get us on social media at Cameron Cowan on Twitter, and we'll see you next time on the Cameron Journal podcast.